Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
All right, great to have you with us. You can always tell, at least I can, in the first 10 minutes, clock minutes of a game, that you've got an upset brewing. Because there are two things I look for that are a tip-off to it. Number one is the team that's the underdog hitting shots. That's an obvious. That's easy. But the other part is John Wooden, the great John Wooden, always would say, be quick, don't hurry. Be quick, don't hurry. You can always tell that the upset potential is there when the opposing team's hitting shots and the other team's trying to hit a home run every time they go down the floor. Long outlet passes, right? Doing things out of character, trying to get the slam dunk, trying to put this team away, taking a quick shot, right? Turning the ball over because they're playing too fast. Kentucky and Kansas both did that last night. Kansas survived on a late call. And Kansas was up 10 at the break.
Yeah, up 22 at one point.
All right. But they kept turning. There was 3 trips down the floor. They turned it over 3 times in a row. Jackson turned it over 3 times all by himself. One time he threw the pass to nobody. They went to throw it out in the wing, and there's no wing there. Like, okay, Hunter Dickinson throwing baseball passes down the floor. Like, well, what do you just slow down? Play. Right? I think these teams all think they're more athletic and they're bigger and they're quicker and the whole thing. Well, guess what? Okay, you don't know that until you played 10 minutes against them to figure out what's a good matchup, what's not. This I can always tell. Here we go. 10 minutes into the game, they're shooting well, they're gaining confidence, and this team is trying to hit the home run every time down the floor. Right? And I watched. Kentucky kept trying to do that all night. Hit a home run. Hit a home run. No, just play ball. Right? I mean, who's the best player for Kentucky? Oh, the senior Reeves. Oh, that's a real shock. The young players, they couldn't handle it. They thought they were in an AA. See, what happens is they think they're in an AAU game. Right? Oakland. Oh, yeah. The guy that scored 30 was in Division II. Right? Now, Rocket Woods had played at Michigan State, so Rockets played in the Jordan Center. And, but you can tell. Same thing with Samford. Oh, yeah, we're bigger, quicker, stronger. First of all, I watched Kansas play last year in person, and I've seen Hunter Dickinson play in person. So most of those players, except for Furphy, I've seen. You know what struck me about watching Kansas courtside last year? Was they had good athletes but didn't have any great athletes. Yet they're trying to play the game like they're great athletes. No, You're not. Okay? Yeah. Play. Right? That's why you look at certain teams the way, Gonzaga just played last night. Right? NC State just played last night. Duquesne went out, they won. BYU actually played about the way I thought they would. Now, did I think they would beat Duquesne? No, but I thought it was going to be a close game. Because I don't like BYU's team. I watched them a couple times this year ago. I don't know. I don't see it. Now, the team that I had in the category of I don't see is Washington State. And they beat Drake last night. Close game. I thought Drake would beat them. Oh, the Drake. But that's the sure sign. Okay? Underdog team hitting shots. Because remember, in the NCAA tournament, and this is a concept a lot of people don't grasp unless you do it on an everyday basis, right? Postseason tournaments, there are spots open on the floor that haven't been open for 2.5 months because of scouting. You're so well scouted within your own league that now you get out in here, there's spots that are open because, they're trying to do a quick scout on you, but it's like a non-conference scout. because it is. Well, there's spots that are open on both sides. Oakland had spots open on the floor because Kentucky wasn't used to seeing them, and Kentucky missed shots. Reed Shepherd played lousy yesterday.
Mm-hmm. They did.
And he had open shots.
Yep.
Right? But you see it all the time where that's what always strikes me is that the team that ends up being upset, you watch as the game goes, they are trying to hit home runs and what they think are 5-point plays every time down the floor. No. Play the game. Gradually build your lead and just keep on going. Your goal is to make 5, 10, 10, 15, 15, 20. You're not going to go from 3 behind to 10 in front in 2 possessions. And they play like like they're going to do it that way. And I'm watching this last night. That's what I'm watching the Kansas game go. I said they're in trouble. Well, they were in trouble. Right? They got out of it because of a call.
Bailed out. Yeah.
But I mean, that's something that you look at right away. When I'll watch the first 10 minutes of a game, I'll go, okay, we've got some upset potential here. Because of how it's playing out. And it's more than how it's playing out. Because I know coaches are telling them at home, look, like reel it in, play our game. Yet they keep trying to go for the home run play. Then they get into the half court and they're trying to move the ball to a spike. They're like, just run what you do. You're good enough. Yep. Right? And then they start missing some shots. Oh, and then what happens when they start missing some shots? Now you get to the last 10 minutes and guess who's pressing? Mm-hmm. The team that has all the pressure on them is not the underdog. All right? Yep. It's the team that, like, now they're like, oh, you just can't turn it on.
No, and I think it's exactly that. It's exactly when you get away from the game that got you there. I think that is the biggest thing for me when I look at it. Absolutely, the underdog hitting shots is a clear indication that they're going to be in for a fight. But the other part of it is, I think, these guys are 20, 21 years old. It's almost impossible for them to block that outside noise out. And I think that when you get to that tournament, you hear a lot of that, and you enter sensing that, okay, we're the favorite coming into this game. We need to play like we're the favorite. And that's where I think you press immediately, and not even when you get to the 10-minute mark. And that's, I think, is where it becomes a concern for the favorite. And absolutely, they try to rush, and it leads to that. I think when you press, you rush things.
They think they're so much better than the other team.
Absolutely.
And that's why they're rushing instead of like, look, just make 5, 10. Okay, now let's make 10, 15. You don't want to go backtrack. Make 15, 20.
No, and that's the hardest thing you can do is get away from this. Not only getting away from the game, they're getting away from your style. When you look at a team where, look, you're going to play an opponent that completely doesn't do what you do, and that's one thing that's made Syracuse so tough for many years, was there was the 2-3 zone. Another thing is a team that likes to go 94 feet, and you're a team that loves to slow the pace down. It is very, very hard to prepare for a team like that.
Sure.
Absolutely. You almost need an extra guy on the floor just to prepare for a team like that when you're getting ready to play them. You can't play that style of game. Your hope is to do everything you can to keep the ball out of their hands as much as you can, and keep them off on fast breaks. You can't play that style when you aren't accustomed to that style. When you start doing that, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to play to their strengths, and in all likelihood, you're going to lose the game.
Yeah. No question. And now I get more games. And here's the part that mystifies me. You have decades of evidence that show this. Remember what each conference champion has going for it, and think of what every at-large team doesn't have going for it. Think about it. What does each conference champion have going for it? Doesn't matter what conference. And what does each at-large team not have going for it entering the game? He's thinking, this takes
that's
such
tough.
a long time.
Well,
each conference champion. comes in with a winning streak.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Each at-large team is coming off
a loss. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've told the story about Northern Colorado playing San Diego State when I was out in Tucson doing the NCAA tournament. And San Diego State had Kawhi Leonard, and Northern Colorado is just giving them all they could handle. And somebody said to me, how can this team do that? I said, they've won 25 games in a row. I said, they go into every game think they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you got to remember what their mindset is. They didn't come in here to lose. They came in here, they've been winning for 2.5 months. Yeah, and guess what? They didn't walk in there like, oh, this is really daunting, and they're like 6-4 their last 10 games. They've won 25 in a row. Now, Oakland hadn't won 25 in a row, but they're the conference champion. They went through their tournament and they won it. So they're coming in feeling good about themselves and so forth. And Kentucky's like, we lost. Okay. So what? We're in the tournament. Okay, what's our seed? Here we go. As opposed to the team like, hey, we feel great about ourselves. Well, Oakland felt great about themselves and then went out, shot well, and played.
Yeah, and I think it's also each team has its own mentality, I think, too. When you look at, to me, I go back to when Mercer knocked Duke off. Mercer came in with the attitude, hey, we belong in this same exact floor that Duke does, and just came out and thumped them. And that's why I think the mentality, too, when you play an opponent the stature of, Duke or a North Carolina or a Kentucky, you have to have that mentality. You come in saying, hey, this is our chance. This is our chance to prove we belong here. This is our chance to show everybody that seeding doesn't matter. We're on the same floor. We are on a winning streak, or we're coming in with the mentality, hey, we can beat these guys, and don't be afraid of the moment. Which I think is you see so many of these Cinderellas are not. I think when you look back and George Mason comes to mind immediately. I think when they got to the Final Four, they came in knocking off some of the most elite programs. You beat a North Carolina, then you get to the Elite Eight, you knock off UConn. To me, that's the mentality you have to have. Just come in there and say, hey, we belong on this same floor, and we're going to show you.
All right. So the next group is coming up today, 16 games, starting in just a little bit here. Here's a nice side note. I don't know if it's a nice note or not, but there was a point that pre-NIL that the G League Ignite team was going to be a great option for young players who did not want to go to college. Well, with NIL and more college players staying at their respective institutions or transferring someplace else with NIL in mind, G League Ignite is going to stop playing after this season. The league made the announcement yesterday. They play out of Henderson, Nevada, just outside of Vegas. They said the changing basketball landscape, including the NCAA's name, image, and likeness policy, and the advent of collectives and the transfer portal are the primary reasons why NBA's G League Ignite is shutting down. At the All-Star game, Adam Silver said they were reassessing the Ignite program. He said 4 years ago, we started Ignite to fill the void in the basketball landscape, and I'm proud of the contributions we were able to make to the ecosystem, said Sharif Abdur-Rahim, the G League president. He said, with the changing basketball environment across youth and collegiate basketball, now is the right time to take this step. So NIL is actually forcing the pros to shut down part of their feeder system. The Ignite will play their final game next week, in fact, when they play the Ontario Clippers, a game that will not be televised anywhere. All right, so. But was it the Henderson twins? Were they on G League Ignite? They played in the G League.
They played in the G League, yeah. Yep.
So that's out. But they're shutting down. And That is that's an interesting move there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting in a lot of ways. I think you look at really what the G League has done. I thought, yes, NIL is hurting it. There's no question. But I also think its popularity increased in the last few years, and the development level increased in the last few years. Now, I'm not saying popularity in terms of fans watching it. Nobody's watching it.
Yeah,
but
I watched like a few minutes of a G League game.
No, fans aren't watching it.
There's nobody in the stands.
No. I'm saying popularity in the sense of a guy wanting to get to the NBA as quick as he can, knowing that I want to bypass everything I can to get there. That's where I think it becomes more popular in that sense. Not popular amongst the fans. No, you're not. You're not matching anything. You're not matching NCAA. You're not matching NBA whatsoever. But I think it was a good development tool, not only for a guy that went maybe undrafted, has to prove himself, but also now the guy that, look, I'm not waiting around. I'm going right from high school. I'm not going to college, going to the G League, and then I'm going to go to the pros. But now, with NIL, you have more. You're enticed a lot more to go to college than you were previously, sure, as some of these players. So yeah, absolutely, there's no doubt about it that the NIL played a role. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah. No, and now here's the next part. Okay, now that we haven't talked about the women's tournament, but I'm going to talk about a side note from the women's tournament. And I think Jeff Byers is ready to go. That's good. I can hear him in the background. So just so you know, he showed up at work today. 8 into the quarters. All right?
Yeah.
And 2 still alive in the consolations. In session 2 last night, Penn State went 10-0.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're shocked they're in first place.
Complete shock.
Okay. Now,
didn't see it coming.
Now the women's tournament.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into winners, losers, things like that. But there are people in the media that criticized the women's selection committee because they didn't divide up the schools in such a way that you could have a Final Four with the biggest stars in it. In other words, LSU has to play, would have to play Iowa.
Yeah.
In what, this round of 16?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because, they would. Right. Yeah, it would be round of 16.
That is not the
bracket.
Job of the selection committee.
No.
The selection committee's job is to seed the teams based on where they think they should be seeded and not create something.
Yes. Yeah, that's
that tells me the lack of confidence that people have in the product and how fragile the confidence is in the product. I mean, in the men's tournament, for example, people are like, they should be seeded 70. Nobody's sitting there saying, I can't believe you put Duke and North Carolina in the round of 16. Nobody says that.
A 9 faces a 13 in the Final Four. It doesn't matter.
Right. But it matters ratings-wise.
It does matter ratings-wise, but you're not going to look around and say, hey, we needed to have these 4 top seeds play each other.
But if the particular year comes up where Duke is playing North Carolina in the round of 16 and not in the Final Four, they've only met once ever in the Final Four.
Yep. Coach K's last game.
One. Ever. All right? But suddenly you have to meet each other based on bracketing, and it turns out that the way they seeded them 1 through 68, and it turns out they meet in the round of 16. Number one, the rating would be great if they both won 2 games to get there. And number 2, nobody would say a word about it. Wow, can you believe it? In the round of 16, that's the matchup we get. Whoa, hey. Nobody thinks twice.
No. Nope.
Yet the media criticized the women's selection committee because LSU and Iowa would have to play before a Final Four game. Well, whoop-de-doo, that's how it turned out.
It doesn't matter.
Sorry.
LSU should have won some more games.
Right.
What?
Sorry.
There's nothing nothing you can do about it.
What the heck?
Yeah.
I see stuff like that. I'm going, I mean, just like, okay, here's the other one I loved. This was great. The women's ticket. I'm not trying to put down women's basketball here. I'm putting down the media. The women's ticket's a hotter ticket than the men's ticket. Okay, over here in the back, you're playing in an 18,000 seat arena. They're playing in a 75,000 seat football stadium.
Not to mention their tickets are still via lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not.
I mean, last year, that was the story last year. Oh, the tickets in Dallas are hotter than the tickets in Houston. There were 80,000 people in Houston. Yeah. They got 80,000 seats. You have
80,000 seats, and you didn't necessarily have appealing matchups in the Final Four.
But I'm saying, though, you had 80,000
compared
seats.
to 60,000 more seats to sell. Not to mention how many of those seats don't even have a view of the court where you got to take somebody's word it's down there.
It's like saying the Arizona Coyotes. It's like saying the Arizona Coyotes home tickets are a hotter ticket than the LA Kings. Well, the Kings have a 20,000 seat arena. The Coyotes have a 6,000 seat arena at Arizona State. I'm sorry. It's like, who invents this stuff? I mean, like, it isn't like, who invents this stuff? Stop trying to push a narrative. Okay, you can't be writing stuff where you think everybody that reads it is stupid. I mean, you can't go into a meeting saying, "I think most of America is stupid. I can write this. We'll be fine." Right? Okay, here's one. Why don't you swap? Okay, we'll go to we'll put you in Glendale and we'll send them to Cleveland. Now who's got the hotter ticket? It's like, okay.
So I can't write my piece about Susquehanna University having a hotter ticket than Notre Dame?
Probably not. Like, they're not hottest ticket going. It's a hotter ticket.
And it also,
it's great that it's sold out.
It's great.
It's great that it is sold out.
It is great that it's sold out.
It's great that the ticket is hot.
That's the narrative you need right there, and that's it.
Great that people want, but don't start comparing the two. No. All right? Oh, well, hey, boy, it's a hotter ticket. No. You got 75,000 seats over here you have to sell.
Okay. Which they sell no problem anyway. Right? That's not.
Got it.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, okay. Right.
The story itself right there is, you just said it right there. Sold out. Women's Final Four. Well in advance. That's all that matters.
But how often have I said, when it comes to stadium and arena building, you need to actually go smaller now because you need to create demand. I've said that a billion times.
Absolutely. And a lot of people know this already. The Buffalo Bills know it.
Yeah. Well, look, Penn State Wrestling, the demand is there. They sell out Rec Hall. Okay, the demand's there. People, they should go to the Jordan Center. Well, the Rutgers thing shows you they're not going to sell out every dual meet.
Sell out every dual meet at the BJC.
Right.
No.
Okay. They've done, 12 there? And they've sold out 9 of them.
Yeah. There's at least 2 that didn't sell out.
No,
Wisconsin, Rutgers, and
one more that didn't.
Yeah.
I think it may have been an Ohio State one, actually.
It's possible. Yeah.
All right. But they still drew great crowds. I mean, the Rutgers crowd was the second largest athletic crowd in the building this year.
And that was in snow.
Yeah, snowstorm, bad weather, the whole thing. It was still the second largest ticketed crowd all year. The Penn State-Minnesota basketball game had more. All right, but that was a Saturday, good weather, the whole thing. Okay, I'm just stating facts. We're not talking about But when they're at Rec Hall, it's a hot ticket, smaller venue. It's a hot ticket. Pagula is a hot ticket. Especially when they're playing Fridays, Saturdays. Middle of the week, it's not a hot ticket.
Right.
Okay? I mean, I'm just stating facts here. Right? Well, the Final Four, even before Caitlin Clark was there, was already selling out. It was already a hot ticket. Okay? It was already a hot ticket before Iowa got on the scene. So it's been like that because they've done the smart thing. They haven't gone to domes. Even when they played in New Orleans, they played where the Pelicans played. They did not play in the Superdome because they were smart about it. Okay? Now, I think, though, they played in the Alamo Dome was that during the pandemic they played in the Alamo Dome?
I think so. I think it was 20. They curtained part of it off.
And played on 2 courts, like the NCAA did with Indianapolis.
Yeah.
At Lucas Oil Stadium. But that was a different circumstance. But they've been smart about where they played it. Well, going to Cleveland's smart. That's great. I've never been in the arena. I've heard it's terrific. Great. Right? But don't tell me it's a hotter ticket. It's a smaller venue. Of course it's a hotter ticket. I mean, Pagula's a hotter ticket. Okay?
Yeah. And the other part of it is,
every seat is sold out at Pagula. Every seat is sold out at Rec Hall.
Sure.
Okay? Yet who has a higher average per game?
Yeah.
Men's basketball does. But they don't sell out because they play in a cavernous place. Okay. Now, could wrestling have a higher average per? Of course they could. Could hockey have a higher average per? Of course they could. But they have the right seating sizes for their sports. And they create a great atmosphere because they have the right seating sizes for their sports. Well, guess what? The Women's Basketball Championship has the right seating size. Playing a basketball in a dome is just I remember being in the old Georgia Dome, which I had the thrill of walking through where it used to be on my way over to the World Congress Center. Jack and I had to walk from practice in the Mercedes-Benz Dome over to the World Congress Center for the pep rally. And I said, yeah, that's where the Georgia Dome used to be. Right? And I remember being in the Georgia Dome for the Sweet 16. It was Michigan State, Gonzaga, Penn State, Temple. And I remember looking around the place because the Final Four was going to be there the next year. And I looked around and I said, who the heck is going to see the court from that seat? I remember looking up and thinking that.
A couple times.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. But it's like one of those, I'm going to get the tickets because I want to be there.
I want to say I was there. Yeah. There's plenty of people.
I got that. But they play the thing in Jerry World. They play a thing in Houston. This time it's in Glendale. Glendale's the toughest of the venues in a lot of ways as to how they have to set it up because of the slope of the seats and things like that.
Yeah.
I've done a Fiesta Bowl there. I know what they're talking about. I don't know where next year's is. I think next year might be the Superdome, right?
I think it is. Yeah, I know they have one coming up here.
Because they used to take the courts and they used to put them at one end.
One end, yeah.
Like the Carrier Dome. Carrier Dome, when you're looking at it, you're watching a football game on TV.
Yeah.
The basketball court setup is to the left. Okay?
Yeah.
Then they have a curtain. They bring stands over. And so Kyle Left knows that. He's a Syracuse grad. And that's the way they did that for a long time when they would go to domes. Then they came up with the idea starting in 2009 of putting the court in the center. That's why when we went to Minneapolis last week for the Big Ten tournament, we stayed. My window looked out on the University of Minnesota campus and going towards St. Paul. If I had a room on the other side of the building, it would have looked out on U.S. Bank Stadium. Okay, that's how close we were to U.S. Bank Stadium. That's where they were going to put the NCAA Wrestling Championships in 2020. They're going to put a mat down, the whole thing. Now, that would have drawn a tremendous number. The question would be, what could you see from the upper deck? I don't know.
No.
I would love to have found out
what
they could have seen from the upper deck. But these are the stories that are coming out. Stop doing desperate stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, seating's all wrong. In other words, they should have given, LSU should have had a better pathway to the Final Four. You shouldn't have them meet before they get to the Final Four, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then Gino, of course, was complaining about the fact they aren't 4 regionals. They're going to bring 2 regions to one site and the other 2 regions to another site. They only have 2. Right? Well, you know why they're doing that. Trying to save money.
Yeah, money and saving in crowds. Yeah.
No, but they're saving money. They're trying to save money.
Sure.
Right? If you get 2 other arenas, it's more expensive because it doesn't. I don't care what the TV contract says. Hey, we're getting $65 million now. It's great. You're still losing money.
Sure.
Sorry. I mean, it's a fact of life, and it's a fact of life they haven't overcome yet.
No.
Right, with that sport.
No.
But the sport has made great advances, And Caitlin Clark has helped it, like, instead of going up by feet, they've advanced yards because of it. And could the women's championship game, does it have the potential based on matchup to maybe beat the men's game this year? Could.
I think so.
Because guess what? Yeah. The women's game's on over-the-air ABC. The men's game's on TBS.
Yep. They will not tell you that.
Right.
If it does outdraw.
I'll give you 4 games last year. Penn State last year, last 4 games they played had TV audiences that totaled 14.5 million. How about that? Okay. They played Indiana. It was like, I don't know, 3 million. Purdue was like 3.2, 3.3 million. Texas was 6.6 million. Okay. Texas A&M was 1.9 million. What's the difference between Texas A&M and the other 3 games? The Texas A&M game was on TBS.
Yeah, Yes, sir.
Okay, so you go from okay, game on CBS, semifinals, championship game on CBS, and then the Texas game was on CBS, all over the air.
Yep.
And the first round game was on TBS.
It's also where the streaming comes in a little bit too now, because when you have a game on CBS over the air, you're also on Paramount. And, same with NBC.
That's right. That makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference.
Makes a huge difference.
And, the old adage, everybody gets TBS, isn't the same anymore. No. We don't. And that's where, absolutely. And that's
but everybody gets True TV.
Everybody.
No.
Everybody gets it twice a year. That's about how many times I watch it.
They're still on my cable, right? They're still. I got it. Yeah, we're good.
If you know the channel of True TV without looking it up and say, what channel's True TV?
Wait a minute.
I applaud you.
Because of the NCAA tournament.
I didn't know it. Even with the tournament, I didn't know it.
Because of the NCAA tournament and because it's year after year, I do know on my cable it's 8:41.
Nope. I could not tell you it's 8:41.
No, I do know.
Even watching the tournament, I still couldn't tell you it's 8:41.
I remember the first four came up on Tuesday night. I'm like going, it's got to be on. I should look at True TV first.
Thank goodness for voice. Thank goodness for voice remotes. Hey, True TV. There it is.
Or you say NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and then it pops up.
It pops up, yeah. Oh, no. I can just imagine what you've said into your voice remote. Mostly swear words.
Never.
It may be a clear day, but it doesn't mean lightning can't strike. But I'm just saying, don't write.
Especially when you don't
write or don't do talk shows and just pretend the audience is stupid.
Yeah.
Okay?
And push a narrative.
Worst mistake you can make.
Yeah. And it's a narrative where
you got people telling you, hey, look, everything's fine. Then you go to the grocery store. It doesn't feel so fine.
No. You're pushing a narrative you don't even need to push.
Right.
That's the other part of it. It's
the game.
That even though, first of all, selling it, your point, 18,000 versus 80,000, that's a moronic thing for a statement for that person to say.
Is.
But in terms of the Final Four, even pre-Caitlin Clark, as you said, it's going to draw. It's going to sell out.
Already been selling
all the time,
the Final
year
Four
in and year out,
over and
over again. So it's not a case where,
and it hasn't mattered who was in it.
No, and that's where. Look, Caitlin Clark has drawn lines all year long. That's going to happen.
Sure.
That does not mean that she is going to outdraw the men. They're going to outdraw the men in terms of attendance. Is my point. But no, it's not going to. Could it outdraw it ratings wise? Absolutely. But
it doesn't.
It's not.
I think it's just great that they're getting all this publicity. I think it's great that the women's tournament, but it had been already selling out anyway. Okay?
Year in and year out.
Which is to their credit. In that sport, they've worked hard to get sellouts and get people interested in going.
It's bigger.
They've been doing it. Yep. Okay. Last year they got TV ratings that finally in the championship game. I mean, the semifinals did well on ESPN.
Yes.
They were in the 4s.
Yep.
Okay, which is really, really good.
What?
Right.
And you can take, at the women's game now, you have the ability, and again, it's not going to work as well as it works at the men's level. I know they're going to try to say it does. It's not going to. But you have the ability. Clark, we now know, is going pro. Yeah, the WNBA is struggling. I think that's clear as day. You now have the ability, though, as a marketer. Okay, Caitlin Clark's first game, I put her up against Ionescu. Suddenly, you have a potential audience. Right. You have that ability to do exactly what the NBA does with Christmas Day. You're not going to draw what they draw. You may hype it, but you have the ability at least to now do that with what the women's game has become in these last several years. You now have that chance to showcase talent against each other, as the NBA has done for the last 25 to 30 years. You now have that chance. You're getting closer to that level. But don't ever push the fact that, Clark and Ionescu, that's going to outdraw the opening night when the Golden State Warriors get their rings. No. It's not. It isn't going to happen.
Yeah, but okay. Let's take history as an example.
Yeah.
Okay. When the USFL in the 80s came into existence, and the same thing with the WFL. No, this is back in the 70s, and the USFL was in the 80s. It was a novelty, spring football out of the gate, first night, pretty good attendance, the whole thing, ratings first game, really good. And what happened after that? They slid back. Slid back. What's going to happen is they're going to do exactly what you said. Then the ratings are going to slide back because guess what? Now the Las Vegas Aces are playing the Chicago Wings, and you're like, all right.
Yeah, you don't have that ability to match what you. Yeah, absolutely.
And I say this with all due respect. Okay. Okay. Let me give you a pro example first, right, and then I'll relate it to women's basketball. WBZ TV, Channel 4 in Boston, decided to send a reporter out to Fenway Park. Now, the Red Sox are still down at Fort Myers. And asked which players they could name in the Red Sox starting lineup. The only player they consistently could name was Rafael Devers. Now, if you ask those same fans, hey, can you recite the starting lineup on the 2004 World Series championship team?
Absolutely.
Oh, Ramirez and Veritek and Bellhorn. You got to say it the way they do. Ortiz. Right? They got David Ortiz. They got Cabrera. They got Miller. They got Lowe. They got Schilling. They got Martinez. They could name them all. But the point was, when they went out, consistently the only name they knew was Rafael Devers. The Red Sox have a lot of players that people in New England do not know. Now, that's the Boston Red Sox. Now let's flip it to this.
Name the starting lineup.
Name a player on the South Carolina women's basketball team. And they're undefeated.
Absolutely. And
they're the number one overall seed.
Okay.
Everybody knows the coach.
I was going to say, everybody knows Don Staley. Don't say
Just
Don
like
Staley.
All the Red Sox fans,
exactly what I'm thinking.
All the Red Sox fans know Alex Cora. He's the manager.
Yeah.
Okay? They know who Don Staley is. They can't name a single player on the South Carolina women's basketball team. And by the way, if you notice, I linked it to the Red Sox. I'm trying, in other words, like when fans don't know, it is a problem.
Absolutely. There's no question.
UConn men's basketball, hey, they know who Klingon is. They know who Newton happens to be. They know Cam Spencer. I mean, guess what? Okay, they're the defending national champions. People know who they are.
Yeah,
right. They know Danny Hurley's the coach. Okay, women's basketball, they know Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
they know Angel Reese.
Yeah.
And I think to a point, they know Juju Watkins.
No Juju. I think you could say Becker. I think Paige Becker's.
Paige Becker's people know.
I think you could say Becker's.
Right, but that
Van Lith, maybe. That's about it.
I don't think people know who Van Lith is. I mean, there's
newer
some
more at Louisville. I think there's some that did. But that's probably it, though. Yeah.
Okay, but that's right. You can't name a starter on the South Carolina women's basketball team, and they're really good.
Yeah.
Right.
Undefeated.
Except for the one that got in the fight. right? I'm not joking.
No.
Except for the one that got. Part of what you have to have is name recognition for the star players in the game. And you know, you look at Kansas, for example. I know he's only been there a year, but Hunter Dickinson. You know, people they know who he is. It was a high-profile transfer from Michigan to Kansas, and people know that. People know who Zach Edey happens to be. You know, Connect from Tennessee. You know, I mean, they got off to a great start yesterday. You know, people know who he is, right? Kentucky, they may not. You know, I think they know who Shepard is.
They know Shepard.
They know who
probably
Dillingham
know Edwards
is.
just by the recruiting.
Dillingham, and they know Wagner from recruiting.
Yeah. Okay.
They also know they're out of the tournament.
They know that.
They can't name anybody in the Oakland team.
No. Nope.
No.
No, you're right.
All right. Can't name anybody on the Duquesne team.
Yep. And that's to your point where, which is absolutely 1,000% right, is
about time you saw it, my
That's right. That, these work great in the first round because it's the first round of the tournament. You love Cinderella, and also it's the first round. Yeah. But when second round rolls around, Oakland's there. Oakland gets to the Sweet 16. Man, I wish Kentucky would have beat them.
Right. Well, again, that's like take last year's Final Four. Miami, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, UConn. Yeah. People forget UConn was a 4 seed last year. UConn was not a 1 or a 2. They were a 4. All right? It wasn't until afterward when we examined the body of work, the realization was made that they didn't lose a single non-conference game the entire season. All their losses were in the Big East. Like, oh, right? It wasn't until you actually took a deeper dive into it. But they were a 4 seed last year. Right? Cinderella is terrific in the first couple of dates. Like, all right, which is this weekend. Next weekend, where's Duke?
Exactly.
Where's North Carolina? I want to see North Carolina. What the hell? Where's UConn? Well, no, we got this great game over here. Oakland is playing Duquesne. Yeah. 2 Cinderellas, which will draw a couple people. That'll be like, I'm interested, but it's not going to draw the casual fan in. You're telling me one of those two is going to make the Elite Eight? The casual fan that did not have a clue to how they got there is not going to tune in. In other words, the fun is this weekend. I'm going to pick this upset, this upset, this upset, this upset. Oh, it's great, great, great. Yes. And that's where it's a lot of fun, right? Then you get to the second weekend. Yeah. I remember Florida Gulf Coast won, which is where Pat's coaching now. Knocked off Georgetown, right. I was at that game. I actually covered the game. All right. It was like, wow. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, then the next game, they beat San Diego State. Wow. Then you get to the next week, I think they played on a Thursday night, I think. And it's like, you going to watch the game? I said, no, really. I have no desire to watch it. And they got blown out. But it's like, but you lot like but there's this other matchup over here that's way better, and that's what happens. Absolutely. Like hey, what channel's Kentucky on? None. Oakland's none. They're gone. Yeah. Right. But again, it's the brand names. Now I've gone through this with conference realignment. I've gone through this with the top 18 college football who make up 50% of all the television numbers. And Penn State's one of them. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Brand names mean something along the way. UConn, to its credit, has established itself in 25 years as a major college basketball brand. They have more national championships than anybody. They got 5. Right? But it's the Dukes, it's the Kentuckys, it's the UCLAs. I mean, UCLA's not in it this year. It's Michigan State in basketball, right? Yeah. That's why, like, North Carolina's playing Michigan State tomorrow. Hey, that'll draw a rating. Absolutely. Even though North Carolina's better than Michigan State, that'll draw a rating. Draw a rating no matter what. Yeah, because you get 2 brands facing each other that people are familiar with. What's Tom been to? 7 Final Fours? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it ties also to why I still feel like, the NFL made a questionable decision
putting the Chiefs and Dolphins on Peacock.
Yeah.
You look at it.
They lost 15 million
Yeah,
viewers.
absolutely. Lost quite a bit because that brand is there with the Chiefs. That star power is there with Mahomes. That star power is there with the Dolphins. Though C.J. Stroud was the story, without a doubt, through the year. Unbelievable rookie year.
Yeah.
One of the best I've seen. You still put that game on Peacock because the
no question.
Browns and Texans do not draw up. The Chiefs and Dolphins do. And that's where
Chiefs Dolphins drew 23 million on a Saturday night where the weather across the country was cold.
It was terrible.
Very cold. A lousy Saturday night. They probably would have had 38 million.
Easily.
Okay. As a league, to me, you lost 15 million viewers to make a point.
Trying to push a narrative. Yep. Great.
Right.
Narrative or pushing a point of we're going to try to get we're behind these streaming services in every possible way. We're going to show you, and we're going to try to make you subscribe.
Right.
Yeah.
It's right up there with saying you have to have an electric car tomorrow. Well, guess what? Sales are showing. People want to buy gas-powered vehicles. Like right now. I mean, 5 years from now, we may all want to buy electric cars. I don't know.
There's still too many questions.
Right? But I'm just saying, like that's being like,
absolutely.
People are forcing that on you. You're like going,
and you're saying, I'm not
really
sure.
so sure. Well, Peacock's like, hey, we're going to force you to watch Peacock. Like, no, not really.
Yeah. There's alternatives.
Yeah. It's like 15 million other people found something else to do. And by the way, then the other games came up and they were getting 38 to 44 million viewers.
Yeah.
All right. Quarterfinals this afternoon in Kansas City.
Yes.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Jeff Byers has taken a gigantic deep breath. And now he's going to start talking for hours.
Yes. The very best.
He does a great job.
Excellent job.
Yep. Great job. He's the best wrestling announcer in the country. So he says it's a scene in Kansas City.
There'll be a scene in Philadelphia next year. That is confirmed. I did look that up earlier.
You'll probably be going.
It is in the city of brotherly love next year for wrestling. Yeah, there's a chance.
No,
there's a chance.
No, look, you're a front runner. Everybody knows.
Well, yeah, of course, but
you just you really have no idea who's out there. You just want to be seen.
Just want to be. Want to be there. Wave.
I understand how you operate. You just want to be seen.
Just wave to the camera. Be that guy that has the perfect seat behind home plate instead of watching the game. He sits there and waves on his phone.
And once again, the first step to recovery is admitting you have the problem. All